So everybody, thank you for attending our webinar today. We're going to be talking about how AI and bots are changing customer service. And the change that's happening is really huge. Before we dive into the actual, discussion about AI and bots and customer service, I want to set the stage by just taking a little walk down memory lane. And I was reading an article recently that talked about how the internet changed the world. And of course, we all kind of know how the internet changed the world, but it was interesting to kind of look at a couple of the points. And I want to do this for a reason, so I'm going to bring a few of those up. First of all, it says we don't use encyclopedias anymore. Obviously, I knew that because I don't use it anymore, but I used to. When I was a kid, I had encyclopedias in my house, and I would go pull that, the letter off the shelf, the book for like the letter S, for example, if I wanted to look up snakes or something like that. And I can't remember the last time I actually did that. Of course, we all know that Google has replaced, that, and Wikipedia specifically has replaced a lot of what we used to do for encyclopedias. But did you know that Encyclopedia Britannica actually went out of print in 2011? That was the last voyage of the Encyclopedia Britannica. Also, another point is that languages are dying. Only 5% of the world's languages have made it online. And so scholars think that the other 95% that aren't online will actually become extinct. Isn't that crazy? So because it's not on the internet, a language will stop being spoken. I think it'll take about 100 years, but still, that's a big deal, 5%. Usually we see languages going in the other direction where they proliferate, groups of people, separate, and their languages become different. And now we're seeing it actually come back together. That's really interesting. We don't check the paper for scores or weather anymore. Now, I used to have a paper out as a kid, and I would always read the sports section and get the scores in the morning as I was folding the papers, getting ready to deliver them. And of course, I haven't done that for a long time anymore. When I was getting my MBA, I was required to read the Wall Street Journal from time to time, but I haven't done anything with the newspaper for a long time. And finally, we don't send telegrams. Now, I'm not old enough to have ever sent a telegram, I don't think, or at least I wasn't into telegrams. But did you know that Western Union, and I know who that is for sure, like I saw the commercials on TV when I was a kid, they shut down in 2006 because it cited the rise of the internet as changing people's methods of communication and no longer needing to send telegrams. Now, some of these impacted us, some of them didn't, but they all impacted somebody. And honestly, they all impacted somebody in dramatic ways. And this was a big technological shift, the internet, that changed the way we live. It changed our economy. Now, the one after that was social media. And the one that's going on today is called artificial intelligence. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, specifically how it's changing customer service horizontally across many different industries. But I wanted to kind of talk about how the internet changed our lives because it's important for us to understand that AI is the next big change, and it's going to be massive. And so think about what is it today that we do that 5 or 10 years from now, it's going to be obsolete because of AI. Now, your industry and your company need wise leaders, and your career will see amazing growth if you can position yourself as that leader and help your company make wise decisions as it moves into this new age of artificial intelligence. And part of the reason that we're doing these webcasts is to offer you some training and some perspective on this so that you can understand where it really adds value and how it's going to change things. Okay? And so this is another person who believes it's going to be big. W. Brian Arthur is one of the premier economists of our generation when it comes to technology and the way that the technology changes the economy. And he made this statement. First, he said, with all the tech changes and the globalization, the globalizing force that new technology is creating, He believes the U.S. economy will still continue to do well. And then he says this: the story in the U.S. economy is simply going to be that huge industries are going to reorganize themselves along the lines of autonomous intelligence. I want you to think about really how impactful that statement is. Okay, he's talking about transformation of the economy. Huge industries reorganize themselves because of the presence and the capabilities of autonomous intelligence, which in his context is a near synonym with artificial intelligence. Okay, he's basically talking about the same thing. Now think about the last big tech change that we saw, which was social media, or Web 2.0 as we used to call it back in 2009, 2010, 2011. Social media, what industries did it change? Like there were a couple, right? But think about the big industries: manufacturing, distribution, healthcare, transportation. Unless you count Uber, which I don't really consider that to be social media, but social media didn't widely change the large industries. It changed a lot of what we do, but industries may have utilized it, but it didn't transform them. They didn't reorganize themselves, right? So I'm hoping that I got your attention with this statement, because AI is going to massively change the way that our economy works. And so that's what we're here to talk about today. And specifically today, how AI is changing customer service. Now, there's a really good white paper. The title is at the bottom, and that's where the information on this slide came from. And it's talking about customer service and the problems plaguing traditional customer service. Okay, so let's go through each of these quickly. Traditional customer service is reactive. Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory. You don't typically call your customers to see if they're having problems. By the time you're speaking, they're already having issues, right? But it'd be better if we could be proactive, but traditional customer service doesn't have that capability. Okay, it's narrowly defined. The CSR is trained on solving certain problems, but not usually progressing the relationship with a customer. CSRs don't typically explore areas where the customer might benefit from a deeper relationship with your company. They don't gather data on ways you could serve the customer better. They don't search out other areas where the customer might be having issues. They're all about issue resolution. But these are all things that an ideal interaction with a customer should include. Okay, and it's impersonal. A CSR who answers 60 calls a day may be trained at showing empathy, but he or she does not have the time or ability to understand each customer on an individual level. The best the CSR can do is look at a few quick notes about the customer's history and try to be as relevant as possible, which honestly isn't very much. Okay, and finally, there's the limited context, which is related to the impersonal note, but how can a CSR possibly know about a customer's unique situation without taking minutes to read over notes and activities, perhaps in multiple data systems with the customer's past interaction with the company? Okay, these are just problems that are inherent in the system we've been using for a long time. But what if you could proactively solve customer problems before they happened? And what if you could have context to make the interaction personal to the customer and solve problems as part of a broader discussion about your relationship with them and how you can add the most value to their lives or work? Would that be amazing? This is what we want to solve with AI and bots. This is what we can do with AI and bots. Now, this is not just a switch that you flip. The capabilities are there with wise decisions and effective implementation. So if you were at this webinar last week, these slides are a little bit of a repetition for you. Just because there might be new people on this webinar, I want to make sure that we all understand the definitions of what we're talking about. Now, let me tell you the strict definitions, okay? Other people will be a little lazier, and you will hear them refer to AI when it's not really AI, but it's actually machine learning, and vice versa. They'll blur the lines, but after today, you're going to know what the actual strict definitions of these things are, okay? So machine learning is a simple concept with a complicated math algorithm behind it. a lot of statistics. A computer program is designed in a way that allows it to evaluate the results of an action, and based on those results, it can make the best choices for a subsequent action. It's highly statistical, and so reasoning over the statistics created by the actions that it has taken previously or by actions that were taken previous to the existence of this program, it chooses the most optimized next action. So basically, it looks at the past, makes the best decision for the future to achieve the desired result. And because it's based on some really complicated statistics, the more data you have, the better decisions it can make, which is why it's called machine learning, because over time, as it gets more data and makes decisions, and sometimes, makes the wrong decision or not the optimal decision, it learns from that and can make better and better decisions in the future. Okay, so that's really just a capability that we have in computing today. And when you can store and accumulate the things this program learns and then use those things in ways that mimic human intelligence, then we have artificial intelligence. Okay, so machine learning makes artificial intelligence possible, but machine learning is not itself artificial intelligence, okay? But when we can use machine learning to mimic human intelligence, then it becomes artificial intelligence. Some examples of this are image recognition. So when a program can look at an image and recognize my face or recognize that that's a dog in that picture, then that's artificial intelligence, because that's something that a human would do. And the most pertinent example for us today is when it can have a natural language conversation. Okay, so when a program can converse with me either by chat, in instant messaging, or by voice, and it can just carry on a natural conversation, that mimics human intelligence. So that's artificial intelligence. And then finally, a chat bot. Now, this is really what we're here to talk about today mostly, is chatbots. This is the most pertinent, relevant form of artificial intelligence in enterprise computing right now. Okay, I'm going to go a little deeper into it in the next few slides, but I want to point out here that none of this is magic. Okay, before we move on and go deeper into what a chatbot is, when we talk about these things, these are not black boxes. And the key to getting traction in our businesses and moving forward with AI and machine learning as bots is that we have to demystify this concept, because it's actually an easy to understand concept. You don't have to understand the math to understand the concept of what's going on. And you definitely don't need to understand those things to understand the business value that it can bring to your company, your industry, or whatever context you're looking at. So on your screen, you see two examples of bots that are widely used. And these are actually two of the most advanced bots in existence today. These are forms of artificial intelligence that are exposed in a conversational interface. I can speak or I can type to these bots. This is Cortana and Alexa. And if you haven't ever had a conversation with either one of these, put that in the chat window and let us know, because I'm really interested. I think everybody I'm ever going to talk to has had one of these conversations. And Dave is going to let me know if anybody hasn't. And I'm not going to bring you on or anything, so don't be shy. Put it on in there. We just want to know. Now, the thing about these two bots is you can talk about anything to these two bots, and a lot of times they're going to have an answer. Okay, so I could ask Cortana who won the NBA Finals, and she'll tell me that the Golden State Warriors won 4-0, which, I hadn't been following that. I knew that it was Warriors and Cavs again. So I asked the other day, and because I'm not so much into the NBA as I am into AI. That's like my acronym more than the NBA. So when I asked, she told me. And I could also ask about the political situation between Russia and Ukraine right now, and she could probably have something valuable to tell me, okay? But when you are implementing a bot in your business, you don't have to train it to be as intelligent as a human being in every subject in the human lexicon, okay, like they did with Cortana and Alexa. So don't be intimidated, because it doesn't have to be that widely versed. So bots are intelligent as we spoke of using machine learning. Okay, now I want to draw a distinction here that will enhance our understanding of this, okay? For a long time now, probably 10, 20 years, I've been able to call a large financial institution and get an automated voice recognition system. And this, it would say something like, hey, thanks for calling. What would you like to do? You can say things like, check my balance, or make a payment, or speak to an operator, right? We've all had that experience. That's not an intelligent bot. It may be today, but like that traditional, familiar, experience that we've all had, that was a menu-driven application that was just, it was able to read the sound waves coming out of my mouth and over the phone lines, and then look for keywords and match a keyword to a certain option. But from an intelligence standpoint, it was really no different than me going to their website and choosing make a payment, check my balance, talk to get help from a real person on their website. So that was not an intelligent bot. But today's bots are not these brittle interfaces that only have 3 options or are backed by a decision tree. They use machine learning and natural language processing to interact with customers much more naturally and to learn how to provide answers to increasingly complex questions or problems. Okay, second attribute of bots is they are conversational. They have text or voice interaction with a human. So like an amazing example of some just incredible computing power, and it's machine learning, is a company called Krupp, which is an elevator company. So if that name sounded familiar, it's because you've probably seen it in an elevator. Krupp, and they have elevators all over the world, and they actually are more of a software company today than an elevator company, because they have a program that reads data coming from sensors in every elevator they have deployed across the world, and these sensors will actually, based on the data that comes from these sensors, this program can predict when a part is going to break on that elevator. So they can proactively go service that elevator, replace that part before it breaks, and then there's no downtime for the elevator. Customer satisfaction goes up, and actually their break fix activities, the cost of those things goes down, because when one part breaks, often it takes the others around it with it. It's an amazing, amazing program. But guess what? That's not artificial intelligence. It's not a bot, because it's not conversational. Okay, it is machine learning, and the more that this program does this, the better it gets. And the longer that this company has been doing it, the harder it is for their competitors to catch up. Okay, finally, bots are connected. The bot does not exist to simply chat with the customer. These bots are designed to do real work, looking up customer service cases, processing orders, offering upsells, scheduling shipments. By using machine learning to reason over enterprise data, the bots can intelligently handle customer interactions and help produce the best possible resolution. But they're actually doing these things in these systems. So the promise of these intelligent bots today is that they can serve customers more economically, more quickly, increase satisfaction, and increase revenue. Okay, those are the objectives that we have, and 3 out of 4 of those, like, it's a slam dunk. The one that we're still working on is increasing customer satisfaction. Now, the reason that some people still prefer human interactions is because humans can express empathy. And some people really enjoy that in a customer service interaction when they're feeling frustrated or whatever. But when you combine the ability to serve more quickly, to get a person's problem solved more easily, when it's easier for them, and then you can give them, the right solution and a great experience, I think we'll quickly start to see people preferring interactions with bots over calling into a call center. So what makes a good customer experience? Now, these bullet points come from the white paper referenced at the bottom of your screen. Ease, efficiency, and emotion is what this really good white paper has identified as a really good customer experience. I agree with that. And so I'm using it here. Now, ease is all about that means just when a customer needs service, it's easy to get it. So choosing a familiar channel, that contributes to the ease of the interaction. When I don't have to go searching all over a company's website to find their contact info, especially because they usually don't give it to me that easily. I have to say, yeah, I really have a problem, and search the knowledge base 5 times before I can get to that magical secret screen where the phone number actually shows up. Not having to do that makes it easier. If I can just go to the bot and ask a question, that's easy. And then having the customer context inherent in the communication, that's also very easy. So if I'm able to, when I start this conversation with a bot on Facebook Messenger, on text messaging, inside an app where, a bot's conversational interface is displayed to me, wherever it is, they know who I am because I'm the one chatting with them. And so I don't have to, give them my last 4 of my social and my mother's maiden name and all that information. Okay, efficiency. According to the IBM Millennials Customer Survey of 2016, 33% of millennials are only willing to wait 1 to 3 minutes to get a response for a customer care request. That's pretty impatient, right? Now, I was born the year before they started calling people millennials. So I'm kind of right there, but I'm not a millennial. So I'm kind of on both sides, right? So if you're not a millennial and you're thinking right now, gosh, those guys are so impatient, I'm going to, as a non-millennial, I'm going to take their side a little bit and say, I don't think it's really about impatience. It's just the world that they've grown up in. And, so my grandfather used to think that I was lazy because I just turned the key in my car and it turned on, where he had to crank it and he broke his wrist one time doing so. But these millennials, they've never cranked a car to turn it on. They've never waited a long time for customer service. Okay. And given that it's an expectation that they have, we need to be able to make it an efficient interaction. And so the ways that we can do that is having the customer's context inherent in the communication, like we just talked about. That's very efficient. It shortens the time of that interaction. Okay, having no wait times. Bots don't, a bot is not busy with one customer, so it can't talk to another one. Obviously, it's a computer program and it can have thousands of conversations at once, depending on the computing power available to it. And then finally, there's no need to transfer between departments. A bot is just connected to all the data it needs. A bot doesn't say, oh, shoot, I can't answer that question. My colleague bot over, at our North Dakota location will have to answer that one. Let me see if anybody's available. That just doesn't happen with bots, right? So efficiency is huge. And then emotion. Now, I mentioned a minute ago that a human agent is still much better at showing the appropriate emotion because a bot really lacks human bias and therefore lacks the ability to identify with the customer's problems. Now, that doesn't mean you can't program empathetic language into the bot. You absolutely can, but it's not a human. But there is tremendous emotional value to providing a personalized experience, and that's where we're going to go next. Okay, but I just want you to think about this metaphor. If a family member that you love leaves a note on your pillow or on your bathroom sink or something, you get that note and you feel a lot of emotional value from that note. Now, that emotion isn't attached to the vehicle of that message, which is that note, the piece of paper, right? There's nothing emotional about this piece of paper. But the fact that this person went out of their way to give you that experience and to send a message to you, that's what gives you that positive emotional reaction. Now, in the same way, the bot itself is the vehicle. There's not a lot of emotion in the bot. Everybody knows it's a computer program. And usually we're not trying to fool anybody with a bot to make them think they're talking to a real person. But the fact that this bot can give a customer a personalized experience, that can have a tremendous emotional impact, because then they feel like this company is really dealing directly with them. It doesn't matter if it's a bot or a human being doing it. So let's talk about that. Personalization. And one of the best ways to create positive emotion is to treat your customer like an individual. But here's the challenge. To make an impact on the company's metrics, you can't just do this once. You can't just go to all this work to make this customer's experience really good. You have to do it at scale. Like I remember back in the early days of social media, this was a highly celebrated marketing ploy that an airline called, is it KLM? Yeah, it was KLM. KLM did this marketing stunt where, some of their passengers were approaching their gate, and they would like use social media to tweet to those passengers. And can't remember exactly what they did. They took them on some kind of treasure hunt and gave them something that was very special for them to show, hey, look, we know you, we know who you are. And they did that because they were able to, scroll through their Twitter feed and see a lot about who they were and what they liked. And so, they had a gift for them at the gate, and it was very personalized. And it was, as I said, it was a highly celebrated marketing stunt that they did. And, the video kind of went viral that they took about it and everything. But here's the key, like that was hard. That took a lot of work, right? They only did it for like 8 people. To personalize specifically, successfully at your company in a way that's actually going to make your company more successful, you have to do it at scale. You have to do it with all 1 million of your customers, or 5 million, or 300,000, or whatever it is. It's hard to do, but advances in machine learning and AI and bots are poised to take on this challenge and provide personalization at a scale that most companies really could never dream of before. So just to kind of drive that point home a little bit more, Suhail Doshi, the CEO of a company called Mixpanel, he says, look, it's really hard to give everybody exactly what they want. So his solution to this is segmentation, putting customers in buckets, which is really not a solution to the personalization question because we've been doing that for like 200 years. But we know that not personalizing is lame. That was like giving everybody the same haircut, right? And every one of us has grown up in a mass market economy. We know what it's like to experience a product or service that's designed for 1.5 million people. And while it could be a great product, it's not for you. It wasn't designed for you. There's nothing personal about it, right? But the generation poised to become the dominant force in the market today has grown up expecting personalization. Just think about that for a minute. They've grown up expecting it. They go into their Gmail and they see ads about exactly the thing that they're typing in their Gmail right now, or exactly about the email they're reading. And they go into their social media feed and they see a news feed full of posts and communications that confirm all of their deeply held opinions and makes them feel like the world just agrees with everything that they think. Never challenges those deeply held opinions. It's actually not a very good thing. A lot of philosophers are actually looking at that and saying that's a real problem. But be that as it may, that's the experience that we have, right? We see ads on the side that are for all the stuff that we wanted. And how did they know? We go into Amazon and we see like all these suggested products. It's like, wow, this company really knows me. How did they know? That's exactly what I wanted. That's the experience that today's market has come to expect. So if we're not Apple or Amazon or Google or Facebook or Microsoft, if we are not one of these technology companies that has that massive amount of data, what are we to do? How can we ever personalize? Well, we've been led to believe that perhaps big data and analytics could be the answer, right? They have promised insights that would allow companies to improve the customer experience. However, the result of these analytics-based approaches is a high-level insight that assumes an individual customer is an average of all customers. So let me kind of explain what I mean by that. High-level analytics do not enable personalization. Let's take an example of a company-wide satisfaction score of 83% with something like check-in times. Okay, so the company's leaders may decide, hey, 83% is not good enough for our company. We need to get to 90%. And that's surely a worthwhile goal, right? That will improve the company. But how much value is it actually creating? Achieving this outcome may require a large company-wide effort, costing millions of dollars, bringing in consultants to try to juice more performance out of the teams that are required to make this improvement. And the assumption that it will improve the customer experience of every customer, which is what we want to do when we're talking about personalization, that assumption is suspect. Because currently, while 83% isn't like it's a B minus, still 83 out of 100 customers, they don't have a problem with the way we do it today, right? Is it even worth it? Personalization means giving each customer the experience that is optimized specifically for him or her. And intelligent bots powered by machine learning allow you to deliver intelligent, automated, personalized recommendations for each customer, allowing you to improve that customer's experience with the least amount of work possible. Now, look, let's be realistic. I'm not talking about, designing a new product for every single customer in your customer list. You may still only have 5 products, but when you can interact with a customer and they know that you remember the last time you interacted, or they know that you know their preferences for the features on those products, or you can offer them an upsell that you know they're likely to take because you know that they've enjoyed this product last time, that's personalization, okay? And it's hard to do when we're just following a traditional customer service model, but bots and AI can really help us get there. Now, when we talk about the customer experience, I need to point out some antisocial behavior that's really killing it. And I want to talk about how bots can change the way your company feels about interacting with your customers. Okay? Because there's antisocial behavior going on, and it's been going on for many, many years. So did you ever date somebody? This is a personal question, and I apologize if you weren't expecting to get personal on this webcast, but did you ever date somebody who was really excited to be with you one day and then wanted nothing to do with you the next day, right? Hot, cold, call you 20 times one day, wouldn't go home at the end of a date, and you're like, wow, this is awesome. Like, they really like me. And then, like, they wouldn't answer your phone calls for 2 weeks. Maybe this person would cycle through these polarity shifts multiple times before you decided that it was time for you to just get out of there and move on. Bad news. That's us. That's what we're doing right now with our customers. We've been pulling a Jekyll and Hyde move for many, many years. And this is how it looks. We spend loads of money on software, media, content, communications, all designed to help us engage better with customers through our marketing. But then the minute they respond and become a customer and do what we want them to do, we then get all cold. And we seek to deflect and reduce the interactions we have with these customers, specifically the customer service interactions. And it makes them feel like the guy on this slide. Look how sad that is. And it's really crazy behavior, right? Isn't it? Well, I mean, it is when I phrase it like this, but we all know why this happens, of course. Marketing drives sales revenue, while customer service is simply a cost center. One is presumably making money if we're doing it right. The other is simply spending it. So when it costs us $8 to $10 every time a phone rings in our call center, and that's, if those of you who are on this call are involved in a call center, you probably know that's across the industry, that's kind of an average number. And we are naturally going to try to minimize the occurrence of that event. But still, it's crazy because that's your customer. You should want to talk to them. Back when they weren't your customer, you did everything you could possibly think of to get them to talk to you. So what about that marginal? What about if the marginal cost of having that conversation is zero, as it is with a bot, right? And to translate that accounting speak into normal language, that means the cost of having that next conversation and the one after that, there's no cost, whether it's marketing or customer service. Do you want to have that conversation now or not? Of course you do. The crazy upside down world can be righted again, where you actually want to talk to your customers. And so why is this so good? Like, look, more touches is more better when it comes to dealing with our customers. It gives us more chances to upsell. It improves customer experience. For example, before you didn't want customers calling, asking when that package is going to arrive, or asking that question that you answer like 92 times a day in your call center, right? But now you want them to, because it doesn't cost you anything and it gives you a chance to add value to those customers and to learn more about them and perhaps to sell more to them. And they're willing to ask those questions now. Before, they might not have even called in because they knew you didn't want them to. And they didn't want to be a pain, or they didn't want to go through the work of waiting on hold for 20 minutes. But now you can upsell them, increase revenue, ask questions that will help you improve CX, ask questions that will help you tune your customer catalog, all that stuff. So I would be remiss, though, if I left you with the impression today that AI and bots are going to be able to handle 100% of your customer interactions. That's just not realistic. And whether you apply Pareto's principle, which would probably be a pretty accurate thing to do, and Pareto's principle isn't always 80-20. It's just that a lot of interactions can be handled by a bot, and a minority of the interactions will have to be passed over to a human being. So that's one of the things that a bot has to do. It has to be able to ascertain when it cannot handle this conversation anymore, and it has to pass it over to a human being for whatever reason, and those things will happen. So that's just the beginning. That's just the surface of how humans and AI can work together. So do you remember this slide from a few minutes ago? AI has the capability to not only power a bot that can converse with a customer, but it can also provide the same relevant contextual data that it would use itself to a CSR, who then can have a more valuable conversation with the customer. So that might look something like this. That conversation begins. The CSR is talking to the customer, and data from multiple systems is flowing through the bot, and the bot is using its artificial intelligence to come up with recommendations to help this human being have a better conversation, a more effective conversation, a shorter conversation, a more valuable conversation with this customer. Okay, so it can say things like, hey, ask them if they're calling because of a problem with the latest update to product X. Because the bot, that probably would have been something the bot suggested at first. Hey, are you having a problem with this? Or offer them product Y for X dollars. There's a 63% chance they're going to say yes. Okay? With this kind of information at their fingertips, there's no way the human being can get the data from those 5 data systems that the bot is getting this information from fast enough to actually use it in a conversation, especially while he's trying to talk. But in this scenario, when the bot is just feeding that information to the human CSR, amazing things can happen. Okay, so I have a use case that I'm going to take you through today. Those of you who were on the call last week, you're going to recognize this character, but this is like episode 2. This is not the same use case I shared last time. Okay, so, but it's still the same person. We got Miko here. And Miko is a fairly new customer of True Beauty, which is a beauty company that operates primarily through its own branded e-commerce channel, not through Amazon. And why is that important? Because they have a lot of data now. They get more data operating their own channel. They know a lot about their customers. Now, Miko has subscribed to several products and has never complained about the products or services before. Now, last week, she was complaining about something for the first time ever. But today, she doesn't even have to. Okay, so the bot reaches out proactively now to Miko because the data in our business systems indicates that there's an issue with the product that we ship Miko. We've had complaints, or we realized that the product was bad after we had sent out some shipments. And so we flagged it as bad, and now the bot is reaching out to Miko saying, hey, did you have a problem with your last subscription shipment of True Beauty Deep Black Mascara? And Miko says, I haven't opened it yet. I haven't finished my last bottle. And the bot says, look, I think there's a problem. We're going to replace it for you. So expect a shipment. I'm going to ship it right now. No need for any more action on your part. And she says, great, that's awesome. Now the conversation's not over, as you might have guessed, because I'm going to illustrate here all the things we've kind of talked about today. But there's something I want to point out here that is really valuable. Now, I wanted to keep this use case simple and implementing this yourselves at your business, you'd also want to keep this conversation simple. But there's a possibility here that I don't demonstrate, but I want to point it out here. And that is the data on the second chat in this instant message. I haven't actually opened this bottle because I haven't finished my last one. Now, what if the bot knows from all the data that it has that when subscription periods are too short for a customer and they start to get a collection of the product, it starts to back up? What if the bot knows that the lifetime value of that customer drops because they tend to cancel their subscription thinking they don't need it anymore, and then they never resubscribe when they, run out of that stockpile of stuff they have? What if the bot knows that? And this information right here is something the bot could dive into deeper, saying, hey, so like, how long is it until you finish that bottle? Would it help if we if we spread out your subscription period by 2 weeks so so we don't fill up your cabinets, right? There could be incredible value there. So that's a scenario that we didn't illustrate that I wanted to point out. Now, the bot continues to speak to Miko. Hey, Miko, while we're here, how's your overall experience? And she says, it's great. I'm happy. And the bot dives deeper and asks, well, what is there in your life that we're not helping you with today, but that you'd like from us? And she mentions fragrances. She would love to see a True Beauty perfume. Okay, and so more data for the bot to collect on customer experience, on what the customer is looking for. It continues, it goes a little deeper and says, hey, look, there's this product that you've bought in the past, but you've never subscribed. Tell me your experience with that product. And she says, that's a great product, but it's a little more than I usually spend on lipstick. And the bot asks, well, how much do you spend? And she says, $3 to $5. Now, the Max Color lipstick is $9.99. So out of her price range, and she's just not going to spend that much money on lipstick on a regular basis. Okay, so the bot says, that's good to know, and closes the conversation. Now, let's talk about a little bit of the value that's happening in that conversation. Natural language processing is going on so that the bot can carry on a natural conversation with Miko. And Miko is going to enjoy this conversation more than if the bot had just, if we were just giving her a decision tree. Hey, Miko, did you have a problem with your last order? Yes or no? And then no. Okay, well, what comes next in this decision tree? That's not fun. It's like taking a survey. But when she can have a conversation, much more enjoyable experience, and much more data can be collected by this type of interaction. And so the bot can understand her intent, respond correctly. And then in the middle there, we're connected to back-end business support systems. And this is how the bot was able to proactively identify an issue with her shipment and then reship the product. And also how it knew that she had ordered Max Color lipstick in the past, but had never really subscribed to it. And then finally, CX data. And this is what I want to talk about here. We already mentioned the fact that we know her subscription period is probably a little too short. But we can also, if you look back at this slide, she spends $3 to $5 on lipstick, right? Now, we don't have, at True Beauty, we don't have a lipstick in that price range right now. But that's CX data that we can use. We know she likes our product. She's willing to buy our lipstick products, but it's just a little too expensive. So if we get this feedback from enough customers, we can, now this is at the analytics level, right? We can look at all that feedback and say, hey, we should develop a lipstick that's $3 to $5. That's in that price range. Then going down to the personalization level, then we can go back to Miko and the others who gave us that feedback, and we can say, hey, you know how you only like to spend $3 to $5 on lipstick? Well, guess what we made just for you? And that's personalization. And we can do that because we're capturing all of this CX data on past experiences, product preferences, pricing data. It allows us to offer them what they want, develop new products if we don't have what they want, and let them know that we know who they are, tune our product catalog, and optimize our interactions with them in the future. Okay, so that's our use case for today. As we dive into the final installment here, I want to just take a moment to go back to Dave Ballard, or we could just call him Dave Baller. sure you've never heard that one before, right? Dave's a baller. So we're going to go back to Dave. Dave, are there any questions that we need to stop and answer right now?
No, there's no questions right now that we have. Go ahead and enter in any questions if you do have something. I do have a couple polls if you'd like to do those questions, and then as they come in, then we can stop and answer those questions too, Andy.
Yeah, let's go ahead and knock that out.
Let's see, the first poll question that we have, let's go ahead and do, I'm going to send a couple polls out. How big is your customer service team at this organization? Go ahead and answer this. I'll keep it open for a minute. We have multiple selections. So how big is your customer service team? 1 to 5 people, 6 to 50, 51 to 100, or 100 or more. Go ahead and click what you have, and then I'll close it here in a second. Thank you. All right, let's show the results. Looks like most people, actually everybody is in that 6 to 50 range, Andy. Let's go to the next question that I have. What is the status of AI and bots? What is the status of AI and bots in your customer service organization currently? Are your customer service organizations or your organization right now, what are you guys doing? Do you guys have plans? Is there no plans for AI and bots? Is it under consideration right now? Are you planning or implementing, or have you deployed anything? If you wouldn't mind filling that out. And I'm going to close the poll and share the results. So Andy, it looks like 67% of the people that have attended today have no plans currently, and that's probably why they're looking at it and getting information. Another 33% are under consideration, but no one has really implemented or deployed it. So the case studies and examples you have are really great ideas to see if that's something that they would like to do. And then the last question that I have, let me go ahead and launch this. Do you want us to contact you about the free 2-hour AI and bots business evaluation? Have you showed that slide yet,
No,
Andy?
can we put that at the end?
Yeah, we can do that one at the end.
Okay, cool.
Okay, guys.
Okay, guys. Thanks for doing that. So and our final part of the conversation here today, I'm so glad that you were here as part of your information gathering phase. And again, if there are any questions that you need answered that we haven't answered today, feel free to ask. You know, we'll stay as long as we need to answer your questions if you have some that we haven't addressed. So what I want to talk about now is that you have to really start here to get there. Okay, so just like if you were planning out a journey, you'd be on, be using your map like this picture here. You can't start in the middle, nor can you start at the end. And here's something that I want to point out, because I know that we've had conversations here at JourneyTEAM that have gone along these lines. And I know that some of you are probably thinking, there's no way that my business support systems can provide the kind of data that, you're demonstrating there in your use case, right? My backend systems just aren't there yet. I don't have that data, and so I can't do a bot. And I want to make sure you understand that you don't need perfect backend systems before you can create value with AI and bots. All you need is the ability, like the attitude of having a beginner's mind and going and doing what you can do and building from there. The worst thing you could do is try to transform your company with AI and bots overnight, okay, to try to hit some massive home run or throw some Hail Mary or, whatever metaphor you would like to use. But you don't have to change the world with AI today. Be iterative with it. And you may start very small. That's what we would recommend if you were working with us and asked us to advise you on this process, to start small. Start where you're at. And you can improve back-end data systems over time. to give your bot what it needs once everybody in your company is bought in and sees the value that you're creating here. But you really have to start where you're at. The problem is when people say, well, I'm going to start 5 years from now because I think the technology will be more mature and I can see how other people have done it. And we've, at JourneyTEAM and in my entire career in enterprise software, I've encountered that kind of approach, right? And from salespeople always hate that because they're like impatient to get the sale, right? From a implementation perspective, a lot of times that's a wise approach. But when it comes to AI and bots, it's really important that you understand that this is different. AI and the skills necessary to expose it via conversational interfaces, these are assets that grow over time rather than an out-of-the-box technology that you just kind of plug in to your company and implement at some point in the future. The dominant competitive advantage AI will provide will have a lasting benefit for those who get started early. It has so in business strategy, we have a term called path dependency. What that really means is when there's a company out there doing really well and they're competing well in their marketplace, the assets that are allowing them to compete well, if it's a defensible asset, it might have what we call path dependency, meaning they had to travel down a certain path to get there, and I can't just go copy them. Okay, and AI is like that. So if I start today and my competitor waits 5 years, he's 5 years behind. He can't just get to where I am today because I need to train my organization to recognize the areas of the business where AI and bots can have the biggest impact. And that's not always easy to do. I need to train my team to work with AI and bots, to supervise them, to train the models, to teach them, to monitor their progress. I need to be able to understand the kind of mistakes that I can make with AI and bots and understand the things that I can do that are most effective. And all of that's a muscle that your organization has to develop over time. And, like JourneyTEAM, that's true whether or not you bring somebody like us in to help you. Because just like, when we do implementation of any enterprise software, it's always like partly us and partly the company, and that's going to be the same thing with AI and bots. So our recommendations, we have a couple. How do you get started with AI and bots wisely? Remember, we talked at the beginning, like one of our points here is to help you understand how you who are attending this webinar today can be a leader in your industry, in your company, and how that can accrue career benefits to you, because this is going to be big. And so knowing this subject and being able to be a wise voice in your company and in your industry can have tremendous value for you. So here are some of the really key points. Now that we've gone through like the different scenarios and the value, here are some takeaways. Number one, don't be too slow and be a laggard. Okay, don't be the guy or the company who just never does this because it seems complicated or you don't believe in it, right? But also don't go too fast and be a visionary with no relevance. One of the great disservices that that we all got from the Steve Jobs era, not to put him down because he did great stuff, but one of the disservices that we took from it is for so long, all of us in technology thought we had to be some like amazing visionary to create value. And, we can still fall into that trap here with AI. You don't have to do something that's going to turn the moon purple with this AI implementation. You just have to focus on real business value. Okay. And how do you do that? How do you focus on business value? How do you go at the right speed? Well, wisely choose the scenarios that represent the highest business value. So always tie it to real numbers. What could you accomplish with this? If you could, reduce calls in your call center by X%, what would the value of that be? And is that realistic to expect that? Is that an accurate prediction? Get the right people involved to answer those questions. Okay, business as well as IT. pull in multiple stakeholders and get the people at the table who can give you the input that you need to make great decisions. So this should never just be an IT conversation. And then finally, get help and develop the internal skills necessary to support it. Okay. If you try to just train somebody at your organization, train a group of people, train your own team to do AI, it's going to take you a long time to get there. So you should have some some expertise coming in from the outside, and you should learn along with that process. So training your organization should be a part of that process as you bring those skills in from the outside. And when you do both of those things, you'll be setting yourself up to be able to maintain a really good trajectory for the value you're creating with bots over time and with AI. Okay, so here at the end, this is what Dave was talking about just a minute ago. Our offer to you is a free 2-hour AI and bot evaluation. Okay, and if we go 2 hours and 15 minutes because we just like talking to you, then that's fine too. We want to have a conversation with you though about your business and the technical assets that you have at your business, your back-end support systems. We want to look at those things and then deliver a report to you that will help you understand how to move forward with AI and bots. And there's really no risk to saying yes to this because it's free. And at the end of the day, you get a report that's going to give you information that you didn't have before. So we hope that we put together an offer here that is of highly valuable to each of you. And just to be clear what this is, we cannot have this conversation with just like one person. So if it's just you on the call, like it doesn't matter how cool you are, even if you're the CEO of the company, you can't be the only one in this conversation for us to get the information that we need to actually deliver a valuable report to you. We need to talk to the technical people. We need to talk to people from various parts of the business. So we need to gather those people together, have that conversation, then we can give you the report. So